Chosen one, my child. Stop for a moment. Something happened in the heavenly realm that no one ever warned you about, and I brought you here so that I could be the one to tell you myself. Something was working against this message reaching you. A distraction, a heaviness, a reason to keep scrolling past and never know. But you paused, you stopped, and most people will scroll past a moment like this without ever realizing what they walked away from. My child, you did not, and that was not an accident. That was decided before you ever pressed play. Here is what happened. There was a day in your life that felt completely ordinary to you. It felt like just another day of pushing through, just another instance of holding your ground when everything in the world was pressing against you. A moment that looked small from the outside, so small that not a single person around you noticed it. My child, but that moment did not register as small in heaven. It registered like a seismic event. Because when you stood in that particular way, when you carried yourself with that particular spirit, with that exact combination of fire and groundedness and unshakable knowing, I went quiet. Not from disappointment, my child, not from frustration, from something else entirely. From something that does not have a simple name in your language. From the kind of awe that even I reserve for the rarest of things. And Michael, the one who commands the armies of heaven, the one who has stood at the edge of impossible battles since before this world had a name, turned to look at what I was looking at. Michael, who has witnessed warriors and prophets and kings and martyrs and intercessors carrying burdens that broke entire nations. Michael looked at you, at the attitude you carry, at the specific way your spirit holds itself when the pressure is on and the witnesses are few. My child, and Michael was stunned. Genuinely, completely, without reservation, stunned. I want you to sit with that before we go any further. The Archangel who has seen everything, stunned by you. Stunned by the very attitude the people in your life have been telling you to dial back. By the fire your circumstances have been trying to extinguish. By the refusal that is written into the deepest part of who you are. The refusal to become small. The refusal to perform your own diminishment for people who are made uncomfortable by what I placed inside you. If something in your chest just went still as you read that, my child, if a quiet tightening came and then a slow release, do not brush it aside. That is not your imagination. That is your own spirit, recognizing what your mind has not caught up to yet. So, make it real between us. I felt heaven go quiet. When you type it, you are not leaving a comment. My beloved, you are agreeing out loud with what I already witnessed about you. And heaven is listening for your agreement. This message is for the chosen one who has been told their entire life that they need to be more humble, more agreeable, more palatable, more easy to be around. My beloved, the one who has been handed correction after correction, not for doing something wrong, but for being something that makes other people aware of their own limitations. The one who has been called difficult, called proud, called too intense, called too much, called intimidating, called someone who thinks they are better than everyone else. When the truth is, you were simply never willing to pretend you were less than I made you. Let me name the exhaustion behind all of it, my child, because you have never been able to say it out loud to anyone. It is tiring to be yourself in a world that keeps asking for a smaller version. It is tiring to walk into a room and feel the temperature change, and to spend the next hour quietly managing your own light so that no one feels threatened by it. It is tiring to soften your voice, to hold back the thing you actually see, to laugh off the depth of your own hunger so that people stay comfortable. My child, you have done that managing for years. You have carried the weight of your own greatness like a secret you were not allowed to enjoy, and no one ever thanked you for it, because no one ever knew you were doing it. But I knew. I watched you shrink yourself 1,000 times in 1,000 small ways, hoping it would finally earn you the belonging you were promised as a child. My beloved, and I watched it never fully work. Because a fire cannot make peace with a world that only wanted its ashes. I know what those words did to you. I know they built a layer of doubt that sits between you and the full experience of what I placed inside you. A layer that whispers, maybe they are right. Maybe the fire I carry is not a gift but a problem. Maybe I would have more peace, more success, more relationships that lasted if I could just learn to turn it down. My child, hear me now with everything in you. The attitude that left me speechless was not a sin. It was a signature. It was the mark of someone so fully themselves, so aligned with the identity I wrote for them before the foundation of the world, that even I paused to take it in. Not to correct it, not to soften it, to witness it. For it is written, the eyes of the Lord range throughout the whole earth to strengthen those whose heart is complete toward him. 2 Chronicles 16, verse 9. Complete does not mean perfect, my beloved. Complete means undivided. Complete means the fire inside you burns for the right things and refuses to be redirected by the pressures of the world. Your attitude, the specific quality the people around you have called a problem, is undivided. It cannot be bought. It cannot be bribed into silence. And heaven sees exactly what that means for the kingdom and for your calling, even when the people around you cannot see past their own discomfort with it. Type, I am not too much. I am chosen. Before I show you the 5 things I witnessed in you, let me explain what it means when I say I went speechless, because I do not want you to misunderstand it. Beloved, I was not confused. I do not experience confusion. I was not surprised in the way a human is surprised. I know the end from the beginning. But in the way heaven relates to what happens on earth, there are moments that register differently. Most things are met with a steady hum of my sustained watching. But some moments ripple. Some moments cause the witnesses of heaven to take note in a way that is different from ordinary noticing. My child, your moment was one of those. The attitude you carried generated that kind of ripple, and the ripple has been building into something specific for your life, something directly connected to the silence that followed. Because the silence was not empty. The silence was the sound of a decision being made. My child, the silence was the moment something that had been waiting for you was finally cleared to be released. Let me tell you who Michael is, so you understand the weight of the fact that he was stunned. Michael is named in your scriptures as one of the chief princes, a designation reserved for the most senior figures near my throne. For it is written, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Daniel 10:13. He is the warrior who broke through 21 days of spiritual resistance to bring Daniel the answer he had been seeking. He is the one your scriptures describe leading the armies of heaven. For it is written, war broke out in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. Revelation 12, verse 7. Michael has existed since before time as you know it. He has seen every battle, every miracle, every moment of human courage, and every moment of human retreat. He has watched anointing rise and watched it be surrendered. He has stood at the moments of history that changed the world, and at moments no human record will ever contain. Michael has seen everything, my beloved. And Michael was stunned by your attitude. Not by one element of it, not just the fire, not just the groundedness, not just the refusal, by the combination, by the way those things sit together in you in a proportion heaven does not encounter as often as you might think. Because chosen ones are not rare in the sense of being called. Many are called. What is rare is the one who keeps saying yes to the call at the exact speed and volume that you keep saying yes to it. What is rare is the one who refuses to negotiate with their own diminishment, regardless of who is offering the deal. Beloved, that is what left me speechless, and that attitude is yours. Stay with me. Follow this voice and subscribe. not to a channel alone, but to a steady flow of the words I am using to keep your spirit awake in a world designed to talk you into becoming smaller. There are messages coming that are meant for exactly where you are standing, and I do not want you to miss a single one of them. My beloved, now let me take you through the 5 things I witnessed in you. Because each of them is a thread in the moment that left me silent, and each of them is connected to the chapter that is opening in front of you right now. The first quality I witnessed in you is the refusal of false floors. Every chosen one is offered at multiple points in their life what looks like a resting place, a stopping point that is comfortable enough, close enough to what they dreamed, familiar enough to make the hunger inside them start to feel unreasonable. My beloved, it is a level of achievement your community will celebrate. A relationship that meets enough of the criteria that wanting more begins to feel ungrateful. A version of your calling that is functional, that people applaud, that earns you belonging in the rooms you already have access to. And the pressure to accept that level as your destination rather than as a waypoint is immense. Here is the truth about that pressure, my beloved. The people who love you often want you to stop climbing, not because they hate you, but because watching you climb reminds them that they stopped. The ceiling you are pressing against was the floor they made peace with long ago. And they need you to make peace with it too, because your refusal represents a possibility that makes their comfort uncomfortable. So the pressure they apply comes wrapped in the language of concern, in the language of wisdom, in the voice of people who love you but cannot follow where you are going. And you refused every false floor they offered you. Not because you are ungrateful, not because you never grow tired, not because you do not feel the loneliness of standing on a level that few people around you can see or understand, my child, but because something in you, the part I wrote before you were born, the part that knows what it was made for and cannot be argued or guilted out of that knowing, that part will not let you make peace with a destination you were not designed for. You have sat in rooms that others would have been content to live in forever, and you felt the pull toward the door, not from arrogance, my child, from accuracy, from knowing, without being able to fully explain it, that this was a waypoint and not the destination. Each time you walked away from a comfortable plateau, you absorbed the judgment of people who could not understand why something that looked like enough was not enough for you. And every one of those refusals registered in heaven. I witnessed each moment you said no to the version of your life that was almost right, but not fully right. And I want you to understand something about those refusals, my child, because you have carried guilt over them that was never yours to carry. There were seasons you wondered if something was wrong with you. You watched other people settle into the comfortable level and find contentment there. And you asked me quietly in the night, why can I not just be satisfied like they are? Why does the thing that fills everyone else leave me still hungry? You interpreted your holy dissatisfaction as a defect. My beloved, you thought your inability to settle was a flaw in your character. But it was never a flaw. It was a compass. I built that hunger into you on purpose, and I calibrated it to a destination most people never dare to walk toward. Your dissatisfaction was not ingratitude. It was accuracy. It was the deepest part of you refusing to sign a lease on a house that was never meant to be your home. Every time you felt that pull toward the door, that was not restlessness, my child. That was me calling you further up and further in. I refuse to let you keep believing the lie that your hunger is your problem. Your hunger is one of the holiest things about you. Type, I refuse every false floor. The second quality I witnessed is the fire that does not need an audience. There are 2 kinds of fire in the human spirit. My child, the first kind burns when it is being watched. It roars when there is applause, when there is recognition, when the room is paying attention, and the response is warm. That fire is real while it burns. It is not fake, but it requires fuel from outside itself. It dims when the audience leaves. It shrinks when the recognition stops. Its output rises and falls with the tide of how much the outside world is responding to it. That fire is common, my child. It is not shameful, but it is not the fire I went speechless over. The second kind of fire burns when no one is watching, when the room is empty and the applause has stopped, and the season of recognition has given way to a long stretch of obscurity. When the work is happening in the hidden year, in the between time, in the preparation that does not yet look like anything from the outside. My beloved, when the circumstances are not confirming the promise, and no one is celebrating the calling, and the evidence of progress is thin, and the timeline is long, and the fire could very reasonably go out, and it does not go out, it does not even dim. It burns at the same temperature in the dark that it burns in the light. That is the fire I cannot look away from, and that is the fire you carry. I want you to understand what I have been doing all this time, my beloved. I have not been absent from those hidden seasons. I did not just watch what you endured, I recorded it. Every faithful morning you rose when staying down would have been easier. Every prayer you whispered when your mouth had no strength left in it. Every stretch of time you kept showing up with nothing on the outside to prove it was working. All of it is in the record, and the record does not lie, and the record does not expire. Your obedience in what felt like weakness was never wasted, my child. It was building the exact profile of the fire that stopped heaven. Let me be specific, because you need to hear that I was present for the moments you thought no one saw. The night you cried, and then wiped your face, and opened your book, and did the work anyway. That is in the record. The morning you woke, with no motivation, no evidence, no reason left, except that something in you still believed, and you got up, my child. That is in the record. The prayer you prayed into a ceiling that felt like it was made of iron, when you were not even sure the words were reaching me. They reached me. Every one of them reached me. The times you kept your integrity when cutting the corner would have been easier, and no one would have known. I knew. The times you chose to bless the person who wronged you, instead of poisoning your own heart with what they deserved. I saw. You thought those quiet, unwitnessed choices were too small to matter. My child, they were the whole thing. They were the fire burning in the dark. And the dark is exactly where I go looking for the ones I can trust with the light. For it is written, your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Matthew 6:6. You have lived so much of your life in the secret place, and I have not missed a single moment of it. Type, my fire never needed an audience. My beloved, before I show you the rest of what I witnessed, I want you to reach beyond yourself for a moment. Somewhere near you, there is another soul carrying the same fire in the dark, convinced no one sees it, close to letting it go out, because the silence around them has lasted so long. If what you have received in these last moments is already settling into the places where you have carried questions without answers, and something in you is stirring to respond, sow a seed in their name today. My beloved, not because you are required to, but because your spirit already knows that what I am releasing over you is real, and you want it released over them too. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. Let your giving be an intercession for a fire that is about to go out. I see the name that just rose in your heart, and I see the seed you sow for them. Because you have stayed this far, my child, what I am releasing now is specifically for the ones who did not walk away. Not everyone will reach this part of the message. You did. So, hear the third quality I witnessed in you. I am calling it the weight-bearing posture. There is a way that certain people carry things, not just the ordinary trials that come with being alive. specific, heavy, unjust, disproportionate burdens that arrived in your life. Not because you earned them, but because of who you are. Because the enemy of your calling recognized the threat you represent and began applying pressure early and with precision. These burdens were real, my beloved. They were not metaphor. Financial pressures that arrived at precisely the wrong time and in precisely the wrong amount. Relational losses that hit at exactly the moments when connection was most needed and your foundation felt most fragile. Setbacks in your health, in your opportunities, in your timing that carried the specific fingerprint of warfare rather than randomness. My child, the kind of difficulty that does not just happen to you, but seems to know where you are most vulnerable and applies maximum pressure at the point of maximum tenderness. And you carried these things with a particular posture. Not a posture of pretending they were not heavy. Not a posture of performing strength for an audience watching to see if you would fall. Beloved, but a posture of carrying them while still moving forward, still pressing toward the calling, still rising in the morning and doing the next thing, still refusing to let the weight determine your direction or define your destination. That posture is visible in heaven in a way that almost nothing else is, my child, because it cannot be faked. Either the weight is genuinely on you and you are genuinely carrying it and still moving, or you are performing something that is not real. And I can see the difference with a clarity no human being possesses. I have been watching the weight on you. I have not been unaware of it. I have not been looking away. I have not been withholding relief because you failed to earn it. I have been witnessing the posture, the way your spine stayed straight and your direction stayed true, and your purpose was never rerouted by the pressure. Let me ask you something, my beloved, and let it land in the place it needs to land. Have you ever been told you were handling something well when you were not sure you were handling it at all? Has someone looked at the way you were carrying your life and said, "I do not know how you do it," and you wanted to tell them that you were not sure you were doing it? You were just still here, still moving, still refusing to stop, even when stopping would have felt like mercy. That is the weight-bearing posture, beloved. That not sure you are doing it, but still here, is what heaven records as one of the most profound expressions of what it means to be a chosen one under the real and unfiltered conditions of their calling. Because faith that knows it is winning is not the rarest kind. The rarest kind is faith that does not yet know, that keeps moving forward without the evidence that would make moving forward feel reasonable. That is your faith. And I need to correct something you have believed about the weight, my beloved, because it has quietly wounded you for a long time. You thought the fact that I had not lifted it yet meant I was disappointed in you. You thought that if you were truly favored, the burden would already be gone. So you began to read the presence of the weight as the absence of my approval. Hear me, my child. The weight on your shoulders was never a sign of my displeasure. It was a sign of my trust. I do not hand a heavy assignment to a fragile vessel. I was not punishing you by allowing the load. I was proving, in front of every witness in heaven, that you could be trusted to carry something real without dropping it, and without letting it turn you bitter. The strength you built under that weight is not incidental to your calling, my beloved. It is the muscle your calling requires. What felt like me withholding relief was actually me building capacity. You were not being crushed. You were being conditioned for what only a conditioned soul can carry. Type I carried it and kept moving. The fourth quality I witnessed is what I am calling the sound of your yes. Not what you say yes to, how you say it. There is a particular quality in the yes of a chosen one who has counted the full cost and decided to say yes anyway. My child, it is not the yes of someone who does not understand what they are agreeing to. It is not the easy yes of someone who has not yet felt the weight of the calling. My beloved, it is the yes of someone who knows, who has already been through enough of the journey to understand that saying yes to me means saying yes to things that will not always feel like blessings in the moment they arrive. Saying yes to the pruning, saying yes to the preparation that looks like delay, saying yes to the refining fire that does not explain itself, and the waiting room that does not announce its end date, and the doors that close right before the doors that matter begin to open. Your yes carries that weight, my beloved, and it still comes. Repeatedly, consistently, without the guarantee of immediate relief or immediate reward. You have said yes to me in seasons when saying no would have been easier and far more socially acceptable. My beloved, you have said yes when the people around you could not understand the decision. When the path your yes committed you to looked like a step down from the outside, looked like foolishness from the outside, looked like you were releasing things any reasonable person would have gripped tightly. And the yes still came. Because the knowing inside you is stronger than the logic that argues for the alternative. Because your orientation toward me is not a conclusion you reach after weighing all the evidence. It is a fact of how I made you. I heard that yes, my child. Not once. Every single time it came. And a yes like that carries a sound in the spiritual realm that is different from the ordinary signal of human faithfulness. I have been receiving that sound from you across the entire arc of your walk. Even in the moments of honest doubt, the yes eventually came back. Type, my yes still comes in the dark. The fifth quality is the one I want to spend the most time on, because it is the least visible from the outside and the most significant in terms of what it tells heaven about who you are and what you are ready for. I am calling it the protection of what I placed in you. When I created you, my beloved, I deposited something specific inside you, a particular combination of gifts, perspective, capacity, and vision that is not replicated exactly anywhere else in the human family. This is not about being better than other people. It is about being specifically assigned. For it is written, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. My child, every person carries something from me. But you carry something that is particularly significant to the specific purposes of my kingdom in your generation, in your sphere, in an assignment no one else can fulfill in exactly the way you can. And the enemy of that assignment knows exactly what is in you, my child. The pressure you have faced was never random. The attacks on your peace, your identity, your confidence in what you carry, all of it was targeted. The attack on your sense of worth, the attack on your willingness to believe that what I placed in you is real and significant and needed. The attack on your ability to trust your own discernment, to trust the voice that speaks inside you. All of it was specifically designed to get you to let go of what I deposited, to convince you that what you carry is not valuable enough to protect, to make the thing burning in you feel too small, too impractical, too presumptuous to take seriously. And you protected it anyway, my beloved. Not perfectly. There were seasons when the attack worked and the light in you dimmed. There were stretches when you doubted enough that the gift went quiet and the vision went foggy, and the calling felt more like a wound than a mandate. There were years when you were not even sure the thing I placed in you was still there. When the silence where the fire usually burned felt like absence rather than rest. But it came back, my child, and you came back to it. And the thing I placed in you has survived every assault that was specifically engineered to destroy it. It is still in you right now, still burning, still intact, still oriented toward the purpose it was placed there to fulfill. And the survival of that divine deposit, its tenacity in the face of sustained and specific opposition across your whole life, is the fifth quality I witnessed. and the one I could not stay silent about. Think of what it means, my beloved, that the deposit is still alive. A thing that is attacked continuously from birth and does not die is not fragile. It is indestructible by design. The enemy has thrown decades at the light in you, and the light is still on. He tried discouragement, and you kept believing. He tried isolation, and you kept reaching for me. He tried delay, and you kept your yes. He tried the mouths of people you loved, and their words wounded you. But they did not uproot the thing I planted. My child, do you understand what that proves? It proves the deposit was never held in place by your circumstances. It was held in place by my hand. You could not have protected it by willpower alone across all those years. What kept it alive was the covenant between what I placed and the one who placed it. You partnered with me to guard it, and together we have never lost it. Not once, not even in the seasons you were certain it had gone dark. It was only ever resting. My beloved, it was never gone. Type what God placed in me survived. Now I must speak about the one who fought you, because you deserve to know what you were actually up against. The pressure on your identity was not the friction of ordinary life. It was a strategy, calculated after a careful study of the deposit I placed in you. The enemy learned early that he could not stop you by force. Your orientation toward me was too strong for a direct assault. So he chose something subtler. He chose identity substitution, not the crude attempt to make you an evil person. That was never going to work on a heart like yours. The more effective weapon was to get you to trade the original for a slightly smaller version. To take on a self that is more palatable to the rooms you are in, more acceptable to the people with influence over you, more comfortable for everyone around you. A version that is still good, still faithful, still genuinely you in many ways. But that has quietly agreed to the false floors, that has turned the fire down to a socially acceptable volume. That has edited the attitude I went speechless over into something that leaves the room more comfortable, but costs you the full expression of the original. That substitution happens gradually, over years, through thousands of small corrections and accommodations, until one day you are still yourself, but a reduced self, a version edited by the preferences of people who were never meant to author your identity. And the voices that carried out that editing did real damage. The voice that looked at your fire and called it dangerous. The voice that looked at your refusal of false floors and called it ingratitude. The voice that looked at your weight-bearing posture and told you to put the weight down and just be normal for once. The voice that heard the sound of your yes and told you what you were saying yes to was too risky, too ambitious, too far above your station. I saw every one of those voices, and I am exposing them now before the courts of heaven for what they were. Weapons, not wisdom. And here is my verdict over them. For it is written, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." Isaiah 54 verse 17. Every tongue that called you too much is answered, for it is written, "Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and a stone will come back on the one who rolls it." Proverbs 26 verse 27. The pit dug to bury your identity now waits beneath the feet of the one who dug it, and what was meant to destroy you has already been turned. For it is written, "What they meant for evil, God meant for good, to accomplish the saving of many lives." Genesis 50 verse 20. The very campaign designed to make you surrender the original only proved how much the original was worth. The enemy studied you, pressed you, edited you for years, and still failed. The substitution did not take. You are still carrying the original, and the original is what I am looking at. Type, "The enemy could not substitute me." Now let me tell you what happened in the silence, my child. Because the silence was never the end of the story. It was a threshold. On one side of that threshold is the life you have been living. The seasons of preparation and warfare and waiting and building in the hidden places. The seasons of carrying what you carry without the confirmation of arrival, without the applause of the crowd, without the validation of the room. And on the other side of the threshold is the chapter all of that prepared you for. My beloved, the chapter, the 5 qualities of your attitude we're building toward. The moment I went silent in the face of who you are was the sound of the door between those 2 chapters opening. Let me tell you what that means plainly. When something is witnessed in heaven at that level, the witnessing is followed by a response. And the response is not only internal to me, it ripples outward, my child. It becomes a decree, a decision made in my courts about what is now released, what is now opened, what is now cleared for movement in the life of the one who generated that response. And the decree issued in your silence is a decree of release. What has been held in preparation is now released for deployment. What has been forming in the hidden season is now released into its visible expression, beloved. What you have carried as potential, as promise, as blueprint, is now released into manifestation. The gifts that have been active below the surface are cleared to surface. The connections I have been arranging are cleared to arrive. The opportunities that have been forming in the background of your life, the ones you could not see or explain, but somehow knew were coming, are cleared to appear. And the timeline for this is not some distant, abstract date a decade away, my beloved. It is the season you are entering right now. The shift is not coming. The shift is already underway. The decree has been issued, and you are living inside the opening of what that decree authorized. For it is written, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" Isaiah 43:19. It does not spring forth with spectacle. It rises quietly at first, then undeniably. The way light arrives before you can name it. And let me tell you what the decree specifically authorizes over your life, my child, so you know what to watch for. It authorizes confirmation of your identity. In the coming season, you will meet moments, rooms, and assignments where the very thing you were told to hide becomes the exact thing that is needed. And you will feel the strange relief of being wanted for the whole of you, and not a fraction of you. My beloved, it authorizes the arrival of your people, the connections I have been arranging in the background, the ones who will not need you to shrink. The ones who recognize the fire because they carry it too are cleared to reach you now. It authorizes doors that open with peace instead of striving. For it is written, "Your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" Isaiah 30:21. When the right door opens for you, my beloved, it will not demand that you claw your way through it or compromise to keep it. It will open by grace, and it will stay open by grace. And it authorizes the release of what has been forming in you into what the world can finally see. The hidden years were not a detour. They were the manufacturing, my child. And what is manufactured in secret is now cleared for delivery. And there is something else you must know. Michael did not only witness. Michael testified. There is a difference between witnessing something and testifying about it. A witness observes. A testifier declares what they observed into the permanent record. My child, and Michael, who was stunned by what he saw in you, declared it into the record of heaven. He testified that this chosen one refused every false floor and kept pressing toward the level written over their name. He testified that this chosen one carried fire that did not need an audience, that burned in the hidden seasons at the same temperature it burned in the visible ones. He testified that this chosen one bore an unjust weight with a posture that never let the weight redirect the direction. He testified that this chosen one said yes when saying no would have been easier. In seasons when the yes cost something real and the benefit was nowhere in sight. My beloved, and he testified that this chosen one protected what I placed in them, not perfectly but consistently, against opposition specifically designed to make them let go. And then Michael testified one thing more. He testified that this is a vessel prepared, that the formation is complete, that the preparation, which has been happening in the hidden seasons, has produced something now ready to be deployed for the purposes it was formed for. Hear this carefully, my beloved, because one of the most common experiences of a chosen one just before their breakthrough is the feeling of not being ready, a feeling that something is still missing, that some gap remains between where you are and where you need to be. That feeling is not evidence of actual unreadiness. It is the gap between the internal experience of a soul who has been in the furnace and the external reality of what the furnace has actually produced. Inside the furnace, you feel the heat, the pressure, the limitation, my child. But what the furnace is forming in you is not visible to you from the inside the way it is visible from the outside. And from the outside, from the vantage of the one who has witnessed preparation across all the ages of human history, Michael testified that the formation is complete. You are ready, because you did not skip this message, my child, because you stayed still when stillness was the hardest thing and chose to listen when everything around you was pushing you to move on. What was sealed for this hour has been opened for you. The record shows you were here. And the question in front of you now is not whether you are ready, because Michael already testified that you are. The question is whether you are willing to walk through the door as the version of yourself I went speechless over, and not the edited version that was softened to fit rooms that were never your destination. Type, "The door is open, and I am ready." Someone you know is standing on the wrong side of that same door right now, my beloved. Someone who has been told their whole life that they are too much. Someone whose fire has been called a flaw so many times they have almost believed it. Send this message to them. Be the voice I use to reach a place in them that has gone quiet. Sometimes I move through a familiar hand to remind a soul who they actually are. Now hear a warning spoken in love. In the days after this message, the old voices will try to return. Beloved, not with an obvious attack, but with something that sounds like wisdom, like responsibility, like a reasonable adult thought. It will say, "Be careful. Do not get carried away. Maybe you should tone it back down." When that voice comes, and it will come, do not be alarmed, my child. And do not argue with it. Just know its real name. That is not correction. That is the old substitution trying to reassert itself now that it has felt the original rising again. It is the reduced version fighting to stay in control. When it rises, do not shrink to make it comfortable. Remember the decree. Remember the silence. Remember that the Archangel testified you are ready. You do not have to defeat that voice, my beloved. You only have to outlast it, standing as the original until the chapter becomes visible. So place your hand over your heart and declare this with me out loud, as someone who finally knows who they are. I am not too much. My fire is a signature, not a flaw. I refuse the false floors that others crawled to reach, my child. I burned in the dark when no one was watching, and my fire did not go out. I carried the weight and kept moving, and it never redirected my direction. My yes still comes even in the seasons that offer me nothing in return. What God placed in me survived every attack designed to take it. I am the original, not the edited version. My beloved, the door is open and I walk through it now, all of me. The fire and the refusal and the posture and the yes and the deposit that could not be destroyed. Let those words settle all the way down, my beloved, because every one of them is true. And if this message has confirmed something you already knew, but needed to hear in this form, sow one final seed in the name of the person who is on your heart right now, the one this word was truly meant for. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. Let it be your open hand agreeing with the decree heaven has already issued over your life. You are not still in the waiting room, my child. The waiting room is done. When your real assignment arrives, and it is arriving, you will recognize my voice quickly, and you will move with confidence instead of confusion. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Your attitude left me speechless. And Michael was stunned, and the silence that followed was not absence. It was a decree being issued. It was the door opening that has been waiting for the fullness of who you are. The door is open now. My beloved, walk through it as who you are. All of it. The fire, and the refusal, and the weight you carried without breaking, and the yes that still comes in the dark, and the thing I placed in you that survived everything sent to take it. I am not asking you to become someone new. I am asking you to stop hiding the one I already made. Walk through as the original. I will be with you on the other side of the door. The same way I have been with you at every hidden step that brought you here. Amen.